And if you're a jackfruit lover like myself, I can only showcase it to you, and hopefully you'll be able to get a hold of a piece soon.
The Jam Fam family. We're Irie, living the good life. We're royal, cruising through the West Indies, having fun, enjoying the good life. Jam Fam family, the Jam Fam family, yeah. Jam Fam, come hang with me.
Hello, Wagwan. Big up yourself, whether you're there yard or you're there abroad. Welcome back to another episode of Life with the Jam Fams. Now, on this episode, we went out as a group of people, and we were out chatting, and this question spontaneously came up, trying to figure out which country is better to live in. And so the person who asked was one of the people in our group, and of course, this is somebody who is perfectly happy to live in Jamaica and thriving and has no interest of migrating to another country. However, because I recently returned and my sister is now here on holiday and has and does come to Jamaica at least once a year, he wanted to get a feel for the things he's heard from firsthand from people who are actually living both experience. So he wants to find out which place it is better to live at. And so I'm going to share the clip with you now so you can hear what the answers were that we gave.
It don't know the country like Jamaican country, inside outside, just like London. Mm-hmm. Which country you feel so like better to live in terms of economic wise and cost of living, between cost of living and all of that?
I think both have their pros and cons. If you want education, quality, Jamaica. If you just want the accredited certificates, England. If you're a hard worker and a smart worker, you don't need more than a few years in the UK to be able to set yourself a certain way, to be able to go away from all of that. Because we're not getting younger, we're getting older, our bodies keep degenerating whether we like it or not. So you want to take yourself away out of the hustle and bustle after a while, so then you would transition back. I find though that a lot of people who have a roots, as we would call it, like second or first generation migrant, they're usually more grounded and they have more self-awareness and more identity because they know where they are from. That plays an integral role in their life rather than them just not. And oftentimes people will say, I can always go back to my country because they have option. So I think if you can manage to get the opportunities and make it work both ways for you, you'll be able to enjoy the most of life, where you don't have to be compromising on a high grand scale, where you can use both of them at your advantage. So you can get the educational aspect of it and the monetary aspect. So you're going to have to sacrifice the youth to enjoy your middle age to older age life.
Yeah, I want to add to that to say too that in terms of oftentimes people think that economically it's better there than it is here. The upside about it in those countries is that you can work at a younger age, you can do multiple jobs whilst you're studying, for example, and so you can harness that money in that way. But when you come down to the cost of things that you then have to pay for example, most people who are there, by the time they get to 18, 20, they live on their own. They no longer live with their parents.
2,000 up depending on where you live.
Yeah, whilst here, you can still stay with your parents.
And the homes are generational.
Yeah, and there are even some of them who stay with their parents have to pay bills, whilst a lot of home families here, you grow up, you're staying with your parents, you don't
use
have
your discretion and give them.
Yes.
And if you're a decent person, you'll make sure they're okay. Whilst there, it's imposed. And it's not, even in some cases, it's not by force, it's just by practicality, because it's group economic that's going to make you have a higher yield in terms of survival and structure and quality of life. However, in the terms of care, even though the UK have free NHS, it's impossible to access. And I think unless you're gonna die, nobody sees you, and then sometimes it's when you die they see you. That's only my opinion. Don't come for me for that.
But it is difficult because the waiting lists are really long, and the appointments, to get the appointments, because of some employers don't want to give you appointments in the days, which is when the appointments are available to go to the GP, for example, the doctor, and they don't want to give you the time off to go to those workplaces, to go to the appointments, because they want you to do it in your own time outside of that. Whilst they give you for hospital and other consultation appointments, they won't necessarily give you for the GP, but that's when it's available, so you can't get it, so therefore it pushes your appointment.
The service is there, but you can't access it in a readily manner,
as you would here. And here, whilst you will have to pay to go and get, if you want it quickly,
able to be accessed. As well as here, because of the quality of life, people don't have as much mental and psychological and emotional health and identity crisis, because they have structure and they have people that they can talk to. They have not really structured play, but they have corners and friends, and actually quality friend, not just someone who's going to want to one up on them by association, in that sense. So that then makes you have to see the world different in a sense. It's more structured friendship, more structured connection. People want you to progress if you're around the right people, not just want to smile with you progressing while they're kicking your foot away. So it's all of those things in terms of holistic wellness. You don't need to access here in Jamaica so much the education if you want to do apprenticeship and other aspects, as well as in terms of the health wise. You don't also have to access the doctors so much, because you're living a better quality of life. You're eating better food, you're drinking your water through your food that you eat, through snacking. While there you're constantly a lab experiment, even though you've never been in a lab.
In terms of what you eat.
In terms of what you eat, the air you breathe is heavy, especially if you live in the cities. Even now we're in a city, but the air is much lighter because of where we are. So it's. I think overall, to answer your question, it depends on what you value really.
It does,
and that changes depending on the type of life you want to live and your age that you're in and where you see yourself in terms of when you become more and more self-aware of what you want and your core values.
I think, though, that a lot of times, and as you rightly say at the start, not about the safety and crime and things like that, but other things. Because realistically, we know that the crime and the safety, everywhere have crime, and safety is a relative thing. It's going to be down to the way in which you think that something is safe. Because somebody might think that, okay, if there is an incident here and 2 people dies, then it's unsafe. Whereas in another place, somebody might think, okay, we need to get to 100 before we consider it to be unsafe.
Valid.
So it depends on what we consider to be. But for me, I think I agree with you in saying it depends on what people value. For us per se, where do we feel would be a better place to live?
I'm always going to say Jamaica to the world. I want to the people. A lot of my more valuable friendships I formed them here. I like the people's transparency, and I like that we can network and grow without being in competition with each other. I like the freedom of expression. I like that I can use my God-given talents and not have to shrink whenever I go anywhere. The people are vibrant. They allow you to blossom wherever you're planted. They don't come and pick your leaves off. So all of those things, and also it probably is because I'm selective with who's around me and preserve my energy and my space for the right people. But at the same time, I also feel like that is where my heart is. And the cost of living, people say that it's very expensive to live in Jamaica. It equates to Jamaicans in Jamaica say that. Some things are exorbitant to buy, like toothpaste, ketchup. Those are daily necessities, but it is so expensive, like why? But if also that's another valid point. You have options of both, so you can source your things from different places. Yeah, and here you can source your things from different places. And with so many other delivery companies coming up, it's making it even more easy to access those things. And the cost of living, I do believe that some things you have to pay a premium here for because they're imported. But on the grand scheme, the things you use on a regular basis, you can source them quite efficient in terms of cost. And if you look at the things you have to pay for, the income package in the UK might be better. For example, the hourly rate or the annual pay. But when you look at the money you are going to spend each month and all the different bills, from council tax, travel, TV license, TV license, you have to pay a license to watch your TV, or else you get a fine. Definitely. There's so many bills. So the amount of things you have to pay for when you out of your pay package, it works out, that
you don't really have that much to do
Left
all of the
after,
other
unless
things after
you
UK.
live very frugal and you are
You have to
very
be.
meticulous. However, I do like the fact that in the UK we have way more options in terms of where to shop.
Yes, that's
So
true.
you can go to Lidl, you can go to Morrison's, you can buy in some stuff in Savers. You can go. You have
You
options.
can go to
more
Asda,
options.
Tesco, you have all of these.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I guess here it's because you don't have as many chain supermarkets,
Yeah.
but you do have
The chains do
points.
break down accountability, because then you start getting some random rotten food in the shop where you're thinking, I just bought this 3 oranges today and I need to bring it back. Why?
Oh my goodness.
So I do like the more close-knitted community-based businesses, but having the large chains do give you access to more resources from more places
and more cost efficient.
and more cost efficiency because they buy more bulk.
Yeah, definitely.
Costco is not worthwhile though. It's only for bulk buying. It's not for cost effectiveness.
Yes, definitely.
But I do like some of their stuff. Their foil and cling wrap and those they last for ages.
Yeah.
The water, I don't see how it works out, but their cakes, birthday cakes and stuff.
I like.
You have to
like
just
that
know
too.
where to buy and shop sensibly.
And the same thing would
To
apply
live within
here.
your budget, yeah.
The same thing would apply. So for me, I think cost efficiency, cost of living here in Jamaica would be a lot lower than cost of living in the UK.
And for a lot of people here, they own their house or live, as you were highlighting before, they live with family. That's a big bill for us there, with either a lease or a private rent, or even if it's a council, you still have to pay. It's probably reduced a bit depending on the area you live, but it's still a huge chunk of that income.
Because in London, a typical 2 to 3 bedroom sets you back over 2,000.
And then childcare, you can leave your child with a family or friend here.
Yeah.
To some extent, but there you have to have them in creche, especially in
Childcare
certain
is
age.
Yeah, and in Milton Keynes, 2 to 3
per
bedrooms
child.
set you back about anything between 1,000 to 1,500 depending on the area that you're in.
And with childcare, if you have more than one child, that's already you
Oh,
earn
goodness.
3,500 and your childcare is 4,500 every month minus. And you're
So-
not your time bill not pay yet.
So I think-
you
I think-
end up clocking up overtime and not seeing your kids, and then they grow up and rebel and hate you, and you don't have no structured life, and then you're miserable when you're old.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. It depends on what you value. Do you value family time and structure and generational progression, or do you value chasing money?
Materialistic.
Also, submit to God. God
materialism.
give you all of the money after you submit to Him, so you don't have to kill yourself to get the money.
Yeah.
Concur? Okay.
So it's a lot of things to think about to say which one is going to be better to live in. But for me, I find
It's a
being
very
in
good
Jamaica,
question, though.
I think it helps my mental well-being. It's a lot less stressful. Although there are things that can cause you to be stressed.
Like the
Because,
structure and the infrastructure,
Yep.
and the politics.
Yes, and the bureaucracy and the
Yes.
slowness of some things can make
And
you
for me,
stressed.
the worst part is the people who are still hugging onto the roles instead of
gatekeepers.
let go. Stop being a gatekeeper. Empower your next generation. They're the ones that are going to be carrying on your legacy. It's not competition. They're not competing with you. You've done 60 years in that service. Mentor someone else. Let it go.
I just want to take the time to just reiterate what was said in the clip, that it totally and completely depends on what you are aiming to achieve, what you're seeking to gain from the place that you decide that you're going to live. Both places have their pros and their cons, and so at the end of the day, it's how well the place is going to serve you and your family if you already have created a family. It's important to know, though, that if you do choose that you're going to be going abroad, you need to have a clear plan of action as to how you're going to be doing that. And you need to have a short-term plan for a year as to what you'll do, and if things don't work out, how you'll be able to return. You need to have a medium-term plan of a 5-year plan of action as to what you're going to do on your vision board in that time period, and a 10-year plan of action to see how much you'll be able to achieve and acquire in that time. It's important too that when you get there, you do not get caught up into the world of the line of credit that you can have access to, and also the material possessions that suddenly becomes available, and also the way of life with convenience and all of that. You've got to just keep focus on your plan of action in order to be able to make the most of the opportunities that you would be able to have when you do go there, so that you can actually effect your plan of return to Jamaica. Because oftentimes people go and they get lost in all of these things and lose sight of the big picture, and then it becomes a challenge should they want to return, and it becomes burdensome on them living there. They become miserable because they don't want to be there, but they can't come back home. So it's about making sure that you're planning this thing out thoroughly and you're doing it intentionally, and as such you're playing the long game by doing the things that you need to do in the short term, getting up every day, making sure that you're working towards that plan of action for yourself. So it was a very interesting conversation to have had, and a pertinent question for the time of year that it was asked as well. And so we hope that you had gained some insight from it and had an opportunity to see a comparison. Remember that that was just our experience, the way that we see it, not necessarily the way that everybody else sees it. Some people might think that it's better to live in the UK. Some people might think that it's better to live in Jamaica. Again, it's about what it serves for those people who are then making those conclusions. So if it is that you have the opportunity to go and you want to take that opportunity, just see how it's going to best serve you and then make that decision accordingly, and have a clear plan of what you hope to achieve. You know, back in the 60s and so, a lot of people who were able to leave Jamaica and go to other countries, they work out their plan. And so for those of them who were able to do their 10-year and return, they came back and had an excellent quality of life. Those of them who weren't able to do that, they had they stayed in the UK and aged there and retired. And for some of them, it's not the best thing. So it's about making sure that it's serving you and that you're planning out what you're doing, not just living a day at a time, but actually planning out the long term, what you want to achieve out of your life and out of your time that you're going to be spending wherever you are. So of course, we're back into our neck of the town, and with me I have gorgeous people. Yay! You see my nephew giving me the pose, and my gorgeous niece giving me a smile. Oh, she gave me a genuine smile, not the British one. And my gorgeous princess over here contemplating whether or not she should or shouldn't. And all right, I can't wait to go home, not true? Me too. So we came out shopping, and now we're waiting on our taxi that's going to take us home. And then tomorrow is another day that's going to work out for itself. I want it to beat the rush of later on, closer to the weekend. Given that it was just a bank holiday, I waited and timed it to come out in the afternoon, and when we were coming it was still trafficy. But hello, K-Drop. So I decided that I'm going to come outside, and whilst I'm cooling down, I'm going to have a go at eating this. I had some in the freezer from the last batch I had, but when Beryl came, I forgot that it was in there and it defrosted, and so of course I lost that batch. So now my sister picked some up, and I'm going to go and have an indulge in it. So I'm just going to show you what this is. It's a little bit overcast because it's getting ready to rain. It's spitting down a little bit at the moment as well. You might be able to see little droplets of them coming up, and so this is what I'm trying to eat before the rain comes down. Jackfruit. So I've gone ahead and taken out some of the seeds already, and I'm now just going to try and see how I can get on with some of the pegs. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do now. So it's one of those ways to spend your afternoon. I've already put my salt on it. When you are eating it, do you put anything on it? So I put salt on mine. If you are in the diaspora, which fruit are you missing or craving? Or what's the one that whenever you come to Jamaica you definitely need to eat? And if you're a jackfruit lover like myself, I can only showcase it to you, and hopefully you'll be able to get a hold of a piece soon. So when I'm in the UK, what I normally do is I get the tin ones and I buy those and have them. And I'm storing the seeds, as you can see, because I'm going to be using them later. They're very nutritious, the seeds. I know people tend to just throw it away, but they're very nutritious.
The Jam Fam family. We're Irie, living the good life. We're royal, cruising through the West Indies, having fun, enjoying the good life. Jam Fam family, the Jam Fam family, yeah. Jam Fam, come hang with me.
Once again, we want to thank you for staying with us, and we want to thank you for your support. If you haven't yet become a tribe member, what are you waiting for? Press that subscribe button. Bye for now, and we will see you in the next one.